everyone, welcome to Gig Harbor, Washington, where the anchor all began. We are standing here in front of a net shed, and for those of you who don't know what a net shed is, our town is an old fishing community, and back in the day, the fishermen would come off the water and bring their boats in and bring their nets into these net sheds to be repaired and get equipped and just get a little rest off the water. So we thought, what a great analogy for the anchor where it first began is this place where women of all ages can come to gather and be together and be restored and be encouraged. So we are excited right now to announce that this month we are going to begin to share an anchor moment with you. And an anchor moment is a time in your life when your faith has really been grounded and you've seen God at work for real. And we are thrilled that we are going to be able to share with you stories from women of all kinds of backgrounds and all ages, and our hope and prayer is that you would be encouraged.
Hi, my name is Ruth McKeaney, and I'm so excited that I get to share some time with y'all in your homes or wherever you're at right now and give you a bit of my story and God's faithfulness. I think each one of us has our own and can really benefit from each other. So let me introduce myself again. I'm Ruth McKeaney. I am a former criminal prosecutor. I was also an assistant attorney general down in Virginia. And I got married right around 30, and my husband and I immediately moved up to Pennsylvania, where he was going to work with a family company. And shortly thereafter, I became pregnant, and it was not by happenstance. It actually was birthed out of necessity. Bob and I began to flip homes, and we flipped houses we moved every year and a half for about 16 years. And we would literally, I have 5 children. All 5 had been born in a different home. And we would move every 18 months. And this was our second job, shall we say. So that's kind of where a little bit about my history and my marital history. As far as my faith journey, I've been a Christian as long as I can remember. My grandfather and Billy Graham and a number of others used to meet in a Bible study before he became famous. And then out from there, those 5 men, including Billy, got involved in major ministries, from Billy Graham Crusades to World Vision, Youth for Christ, Navigators, all of these. And my grandfather became an evangelist all over Asia and Sumatra. So my dad and his 5 siblings grew up in Hong Kong and in different parts of the world. We had people in and out of our house, from Corrie ten Boom, who was very close with my grandparents, to just people constantly. And we were living with my grandparents when they returned to the States. So faith and the connection between life and faith was very real to me, and hospitality and faith and having people in and out of your home. It was how we grew up. Our family motto was bless, and that was blessing whoever came in and out of your home and blessing everyone you came into contact with. So that's kind of what I grew up with as far as my faith journey. I could probably pinpoint several times where my faith was heavily tested, in the sense where I was sanctified, not tested whether I believed or not, but my own growth. And went through the death of my mom when she was in her 50s of cancer, and just a number of things. So, the Lord was definitely really growing who I was and an understanding of who He was in me and in my life. I think one of the things that I've been asked to talk about is an anchor moment for me. And I kind of love this story because it transitions me from, we flipped houses. I was a trial lawyer. I became a mom of 5, and we're flipping houses every year and a half. I have 4 girls in 5 years, then my son a few years later. So crazy busy, redefining who we are. And a few years ago, 3 actually, my uncle paid us a visit, and he was sitting in my living room. And he says, Ruth, I'd like you to come sit with me in the living room. So I go sit down, and he says to me, what are you 100% depending on the Lord for right now? And I said, besides raising my kids? And he said, yes. And I said, nothing. And he said, well, what do you mean nothing? And I said, nothing. And he knew the question to ask me, because Bob and I have been very self-sufficient isn't the right word, but we've become quite successful in the endeavors that we've had our hands on, the flipping of the houses, just anything like that. So Uncle Hubert knew exactly what to ask me to generate the response I was going to give. So he then says, I have a challenge for you. And anyone who knows me knows all you have to do is challenge me, because I'm going to do it. And he said, my challenge is for you is ask the Lord to give you a vision beyond your resources, beyond your financial means, your personal capital, and your education, beyond every one of those things, so that he gets the glory and you get to sit and watch him work. And you don't get, it's not all you did was be obedient, but he did everything else. So I began, actually, to jump ahead a little bit, I named my company VBMR, for Vision Beyond My Resources. So I began to pray this every single day. Lord, give me a vision beyond my resources. I don't even know what that looks like. I can't even fathom what that looks like. Well, a few months after that, I had attended a women's conference, and the conference, it was called Women Doing Well, and it's what's your purpose, plan, and passion. And here I had been a stay-at-home mom now for 18 years. I've been a little longer now, but 18 years. And people would have said, well, you were so accomplished before and you did so much. But if you've ever been at home with kids for a long time, you have a tendency to lose that sense of self-confidence in areas that you are unfamiliar with and that are outside of your lane. So I'm at this conference, and it all had to do with purpose, plan, and passion, which is what I said. And I didn't even know what I was passionate about. I knew what I was good at, nor did I know how this would tie into later a vision beyond my resources. So I began to pray, Lord, show me what I'm passionate about, because as of right now, the only thing I could verbalize that I was passionate about was blessing people out of my home, whether it was bringing people in and my family being a blessing to them, or my family being the beneficiary of other people coming into our house. So I'm driving home from this conference, and I'm in tears, because I think, well, my oldest is going to college. I'm 50. I have absolutely no idea who I am anymore, in the sense of what the Lord has for me. So again, I'm continuing to pray. Lord, give me a vision beyond my resources. And I had gone to another conference a month later, a Women of Legacy conference. And I had sat next to a woman, and she began to cry after about 30 minutes of us talking. And she said, you're my divine appointment. And I thought, well, why am I your divine appointment? Anyways, 3 months later, this woman, her name is Sarah Perot, invited me out to London to see a place that she had just bought and to pray over it. We had both had a passion for property. And I didn't want to go because I had just hosted a huge wedding at our house. And my husband and I prayed. I ended up going. Another friend of ours showed up as well, Sally Lloyd-Jones, who wrote the Storybook Bible. And while we were there, Sarah takes us to this little farm outside of London that was her favorite farm for lunch. And while we were at lunch, they asked me about flipping houses. And I had made the statement, everyone's hungry for home. And they both picked up their computers and said, it hasn't been taken. And I said, what hasn't been taken? And they said, the name, Hungry for Home. And I said, for what? And they said, you're supposed to write a book. And I said, well, I will never write a book. Ever. Well, I come home and I tell my sister, who lives on our property, and I just said, you're going to laugh about this, but they think I need to write a book. Well, she starts to cry and said, you're supposed to write this book. And I said, no, again. Now, you need to remember, I'm continuing to pray, vision beyond my resources, not making any connection whatsoever to do this, because I knew this was so far out of my lane that I didn't even have a desire to do it. So she says, my sister says to me, talk to this author out in California that I know, and just find out if this is something that you're to do. Well, this girl on the phone says, I'd like to fly out there next week. So this is 2.5 years ago. She flies out in October, interviews my family and I, and says, I'd like to collaborate on a book with you. I said, I don't know how many times I need to say this. I'm not writing a book. So right before she leaves, she and my sister go shopping for a few hours. And they bring back 2 gifts for me as she's leaving town. The first one was a teapot. And she said, whenever you're sitting and, thinking about writing or meditating with the Lord, I want you to have a cup of tea. And I laughed to myself because I don't drink tea and I'm not writing a book. She said, before you open the second gift, I searched all over town looking for, if you ever did a book, what would it look like? And she said, this is what your sister and I came up with. So I opened this book, I opened the paper, and I'm looking at it, and I said, where is this place? It was a large coffee table book. And they said, I don't know. I open it up. It was the farm in the Cotswolds outside of London that Sarah had taken Sally and I to lunch. I started to weep, literally sitting at that table, and I said, Lord, I'll be obedient. And it was step by step by step, and I can't even begin because I'm short on time to tell you the whole journey and every single thing, from a woman calling me with a dream she'd had to the Lord stepping in and providing a publisher, like literally step by step by step, where the Lord did it. He showed up. He gave me a vision beyond any of my financial means, anyone that I knew. I didn't know anyone that could help me do this. I mean, he gets all the glory. And so, when I sit there and I'm teary, or I'm feeling discouraged, or I sit there and say, Lord, don't let my fears and insecurities or my hopes and dreams get in your way, I go back to this anchor moment where the Lord, I sat on my chair and said, I will be obedient. And I've had the opportunity to watch him literally write a book. I mean, obviously I told the stories and I did, but he paved the way. And so for me, as I even set an example for my kids, or I'm handling the next thing on the book, or another speaking engagement, or doing different things that the Lord's opened, and I think I'm incapable, I can't do it, this is not my lane, what am I doing? I look back to that moment where he said, trust me and take the next step. And so if I could encourage you, pray, Lord, give me a vision beyond my resources so I get to watch you work and you get all the glory. So I hope this blesses you as much as it blessed me to experience it, and how I continue to get to watch it play out day by day. Bless you all. Here is the book, Hungry for Home. It's filled with family traditions, family recipes, gardening, and entertaining.